Disclaimer: our podcast is for entertainment only. We are not discrediting anyone who has had any of these paranormal encounters or believes them.
Hello, beautiful human beings. It's Mars and SJ here with Undeniable Mysteries. Here we gather some stories, paranormal stories on the interwebs, and we rank them on how believable they are to us. Our first category is cryptids. And SJ, do you want to say the next cryptid on our list?
Selbyville Swamp Monster in Delaware.
In Delaware.
Delaware.
So this one's a bit interesting. This one's different. I read a little bit before we started this. And you're going to be like, what? So
I rarely do that, so I'm interested.
this one's crazy. This one's real crazy. So, during the early part of the 20th century, stories of a monster began to circulate in and around at Great Cypress Swamp. By the 1930s, especially after an 8-month fire ravaged the landscape, swamp monster tales had gained wide acceptance throughout the community. Dubbed the Selbyville Swamp Monster and also the Burnt Swamp Monster, the creature was blamed for the deaths of livestock, missing pets, and even chasing away frightened hunters. Descriptions of the monsters are not always consistent. Sometimes it's said to be a hairy creature. Other accounts it seems like it's more ghost-like. The swamp monster legend reached its peak in the 1960s when reports of the creature were widely reported by newspaper outlets. But this is where it gets crazy. So, early 1960s. That's when, like I said, that's when the Selbyville Swamp Monster was like getting kind of famous. It was actually faked. It's not real. So, where is it at? Yeah, okay, so this Ralph guy admitted to creating the hoax, producing the story of a monster that inhabited the Great Cypress Swamp. He even went so far as to have a friend dress up and play the role of the Yeti-like creature. The costume was made by the actor Fred Stevens using his Aunt Dorothy's old raccoon hat, a scary mask, and club. Stevens would hide in the shallows of the woods, then jump out at passing cars on Route 54. They held on to this hoax for years, and then they kind of started feeling guilty about it, and then they confessed 23 years later in 1987. But residents continue to report sightings of a monster even after Stevens ceased the charade. So once he stopped doing this whole swamp monster bit, people were still seeing this creature.
I've had this cryptid theory for a while that what if these creatures didn't exist until we made them up or made them into an actual thing, and then they actually came to life, some sort of Goosebumps story, but realistic.
Our minds just
theory.
we all think of the same thing, and all of our minds together just create it.
I just think someone has the idea of it and creates it into a costume or just a little figurine or something as a cool thing, a new obvious mythical creature, and then one day it just somehow came alive.
That would be crazy.
That I have a theory of that though, but
yeah. So Stevens hasn't played the Selbyville Swamp Monster since 1964. Let's see. Did I have any stories? Because that was the whole gist of that. The story behind it being a hoax, and then people actually seeing it. Well, here's this. This was before the whole hoax thing, right? Because, yeah, that was 1960s. This one, I got a story from the 1920s. It says 2 men hunting raccoons headed into the Great Cypress Swamp with their dogs. The dogs suddenly froze and their tails tucked in. They heard something screaming and this horrible noise started coming towards them. Rather than fire on whatever it was, they backed away. Something large and heavy continued to follow them, snapping through the branches as it came. So that monster had been described as large and hair-covered. Walks on 2 legs. So that was the 1920s. That was before the whole hoax thing, because they started the hoax in like the 1960s.
What if like the creature, like maybe like someone else like made something about it or something, came to life, whatever, and then like maybe they heard about it or something and then decided to like make it as like,
Maybe.
a fake thing, and
Maybe.
then they stopped, and obviously it was still there because it was a real thing. Obviously, it's a theory, probably not true, but
Yeah, so it says on here that, yeah, people were seeing it before 1960. Like, just the one I just read. And people were seeing it after they stopped the hoax. So, it could be a real thing. Yeah, that they were basing on, like you said.
could be a real thing.
Real thing.
I bet one thing.
Oh, here's one in 2004. John, a student at Delaware Technical Community College in Georgetown, was driving home one night. He was on the back roads, and he pulled up to the stop sign, and as he turned right, he noticed a figure standing near a utility pole. So I'm going to read what he had said. I turned off my high beams, thinking it was a person because it was standing up. As I got closer to this being, I was taken aback by its size. I started to slow down, not knowing it, I guess because I was puzzled and curious. As I stared, I could make out its bottom side, broad shoulders, the fact that it was standing with its back to me looking into the woods, and hair that came to a point at the top of its head. This entire figure had a thick black cover of hair with no hair on its hands. I could not see its feet. Standing next to the utility pole gave me some reference for height. I estimate it was around 7 to 8 feet tall. I was almost past this creature when it looked at me and then looked back to the woods as if it didn't care I was there. Once I made eye contact with the hair, once I made eye contact, the hair on my arm stood up and I peeled out of the location. So,
Why would you go up to it?
right? Like, I'd have been scared. I've been like,
I would have drove away. Oh my god, I would take a picture and then I would drive away.
But it didn't do anything. So there's another one from 2010. See, all these other, there's more.
Beautiful man.
I know, right? There's like more encounters for this one. So like several people have been seeing it before and after this whole hoax.
I'm kind of liking this.
This one's kind of cool. I always liked swamp monsters. I think ever since Courage the Cowardly Dog, I was so fond of swamp monsters. So I mean, that's that. We saw some images, but let's take a look. He's beautiful.
Aww. I should draw bigger for him then.
There's not really many pictures, like drawings and stuff. Look at that. Look at that. There's hardly anything. Huh. Okay, so we just have like a couple. And that's it. He's cute though.
He is.
Yeah, I like that one.
What is
That's just an owl. It's just a picture of an owl.
That's what I was about to say. Why did they just have Why did they just have a picture of an owl?
What if I
That's
just
not the...
type in this and see if I get any more pictures? Okay, that's a Pokemon, definitely.
That's a Pokemon.
It is not. Yeah, there's not a lot to it. It's showing all these other like cryptids when I typed in. Yeah, there's not much.
It's showing other like Bigfoot creatures, but this seems to have like more fur than.
Yeah, this one so this one has more of a story to it, has more encounters to it, but like hardly any pictures. Oh, you dropped something.
No, I didn't.
So, rating time. What do you give the very few images that we have?
The very few images, like obviously it's very few, but the images we have, like some of the images kind of look cool.
I can see it being believable though. It's in the
Same.
swamp. It kind of blends in with everything. I'm probably gonna give it an 8 to be honest. What?
I wrote 8 in mine as soon as you said 8.
So we were on the same wavelength.
Yes.
All right, so story. We got a whole bunch for the story.
10.
Yeah, I was gonna say 10. This one was crazy. Because at first it was like, oh, it's a cryptid. Nope, it's a hoax. Actually, there's still sightings of it.
It's like, at first it's like, yeah, we're seeing a couple sightings. Oh, turns out these guys just made it. Oh, going back to the past, by the way, there were actually sightings before they started.
Many sightings. Yeah, that I like this one. I like the story a lot. I feel like it could be real. Okay, so proof.
Do we? Was there proof? I can't remember.
Yeah, there was tons. Remember there was the 1920 story, there was the 2004 story, there was a 2010 story I did not read off, but there was so many more that I could have read. You're gonna give it a 10?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a 9.
That's so good.
Yeah. I find this cryptid very believable. And I'm not biased because of Courage the Cowardly Dog with the swamp monster. No, I can see this being a thing. What? What?
Go on with your talking.
That was
Go on with your talking.
We were gonna do the
Yeah,
the list now.
That's what I'm about to get into.
Okay, so what's the points? Oh God, what's the points? SJ, what are the points? You're giving me that look.
55.
55. It's more believable than the Nightcrawler? Dang.
It is 15 points above
Jeez.
the Nightcrawler.
Alright, so number 1 is now the Selbyville swamp monster with 55.
I can't believe
That's
that's so
crazy.
more. Like, I started doing the calculations and I saw like I added the image and story together and I got 36 and I was already starting to be like, wait, is this gonna be more than the Fresno?
Oh man. Alright, so yeah, swamp monster with 55. The second place is the Fresno Nightcrawler with 40. Third place is the Magyar monster with 39. Next is the Melon Heads with 27. After that's the Tizaruk with 26.5. And then the Slide Rock Vulture with 20. Falk Monster with 13. And last place still is the Alabama White Thing with 8.5.
I think it's just always gonna be the last.
It's-
Unless there's one that has like somehow has only 5 points.
We come across a state that doesn't have like a really popular cryptid. They just kind of made up something on the spot and we give it zeros throughout the whole board.
and then
And then it's
that-
last place.
Like, that would be the only one that would be last place.
Probably. I don't see any others getting below an 8.
Yeah. I can't believe it got above the Fresno
That's
by 15.
crazy. That's crazy. I mean, this was really good.
This one, like, I loved. It's not, like, one of my favorites now, but, like, it's, like, it has way of, like, a better story and proof and everything, I think, on here, and it
Yeah.
deserves
Yeah.
first place.
It's definitely up there.
Yeah.
All right. So we still have our Twitter page. If you guys want to go on there and share some of your stories, share your input on any of these cryptids, that would be awesome. We will see you guys next time.
Bye-bye!